space wives. Let's create lives. Mormon space wives. God the Father has a body. It's a very toned body. He looks good. Mormon space wives. Mormon space wives. Space sex. Space sex. Magic underwear fitting tight. Magic underwear is feeling right. Mormon space wives. Mormon space wives. Lords of Cola. I would like to have intimacies with you on the planet of Naboo. Mormon space wives. Magic underwear. Where? Right there. Mormon space wives. Let's create lives. Mormon space wives. God the Father has a body. It's a very toned body. He looks good. Mormon space wives. Mormon space wives. Space sex. Space sex. Magic underwear fitting tight. Magic underwear is feeling right. Mormon space wives. Mormon space wives. Lords of Cola. I would like to have intimacies with you on the planet of Naboo. Mormon space wives. Magic underwear. Where? Right there. Mormon space wives. Space error.
Oh, what's up, everybody? Today we're gonna have a weird mix, as usual. We're gonna be all over the place. We're gonna be talking about history. We're gonna talk about philosophy, political science, poli-sci. For those of you that didn't go to university, it's poli-sci. Did you even take poli-sci? Oh my gosh, you didn't even take poli-sci. Which was all low-tier shit anyway. People act like that's some kind of an elite. Oh, I'm studying poli-sci. So you are studying to be in the faking gay dialectic. Yes, poli-sci. Faking gay politics, dialectics, Freemasonry, and deism. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about American pop culture, Americanism, the ethos of America, the good, the bad, the ugly. It's all on today's topics. I did want to give a shout out, though, over here at Cringecore Records. I didn't want Dr. Evo to think I'm ignoring all the amazing, classic, excellent cringecore that we have.
Did you ever have?
So let's just do a little bit of again, tribute to the original Americans, the Americans before us Americans, before the honky crackers. We had the cholos. Hey, dude, this was like, La Mecha, La Raza, bro. This was America, dude.
Victory outreach experience when you were on the West Coast.
What is that?
It's basically like Cholo Church.
Oh, really?
Cringecore.
Cholo Church. Hey, dude, this is straight up, bro. Cholo Church. Look, homie, you could go anywhere, bro. So, Cholo Church. I'd be going there instead of freaking Ruslan's church or whatever, dude.
Cholo church. Dude, this church is about 50 times less gay than freaking Ruslan, bro. Cholo church. Dude, how come I didn't even know about freaking Cholo church? JB, dude, how come he ain't at Cholo church, bro? Cholo church. He's over here trying to get inside of the freaking Ruslan's butt buddy church. Cholo church. Dude, he need to go to Cholo church, bro.
Cholo church.
I'm gonna grab me a little blonde-haired, blue-eyed white boy and put him on the white side of town. You know? And if that ain't good enough, I'm gonna grab me a little ching-chang, ping-pong playing China boy and put him on the Asian side of town.
Whoa, dude. Damn, bro. They based as hell over at Cholo Church. They making freaking white dude jokes, making Chinese jokes, bro. They don't even give a fuck. How do all of the Cholo women, like, they were fat before everybody was fat, dude. It's like Cholo women were just always like a circle, dude. Like they was born coming out like a circle, bro. Like they didn't even go through like a transformation where they were like high when they were young or whatever. Like they was just straight a circle the whole time, bro. The spheres, bro. That's the orbs that Sam Shamoon was talking about. And how could you refute me or whatever?
Yo, all right, just a little bit of tribute to Dr. Evo. All the great work this year, celebrating 250 years of Americanism, the good, the bad. And you guys are going to participate today. It's going to be participatories because everybody's equal. Everybody's the same. Everybody's equally gay and trans because we fair around here. Ain't nobody more equal than another person except the most equal. We're going to talk about the movement of America into the logical conclusion of the classical Enlightenment liberal ideals, the reaction against medieval papism and Protestantism, setting the stage, setting the way for how we got to where we are now. We're going to be talking about boomers. We're going to be talking about evangelical Zionism. I'm making my notes because I forgot a couple things. We're going to talk about usury. We're going to talk about butt buddies. Butt buddies, butt buddies, butt buddies and me. Kid sister, kid sister, kid sister, and they, them. We're going to talk about Cholo Scriptura, bro. Masonry, deism, cults, pop culture, pop stars, fast food, and how Americanism isn't really kind of much of a thing, actually. We're not going to be just negative, though. We got good points. There's a good side, right? Y'all remember one of the first cringecore songs ever? And it was actually the Boomer song, inspired by America's adoption of its new sacrament, civic butt stuff. Remember this?
Me back to the Reagan era. Wall Street. The Bulls and Bears. Making moves. Buy and sell. Spread the word. My civic nationalism. America. To the ends of the globe. America. To the black hole. Americanism. Boomer worldview. Boom. Boomer worldviews. Retired of Florida. Buy a van. Key Largo, Montego. The Beach Boys.
Get in debt.
Mar-a-Lago. 401k.
401k.
Reagan era. America. Woo! Boomer town. Boomer time. Turn the time. Turn the time. Turn the.
By the way, I got a comb. I should have just re-sung this song. Hey, Jamie, could you bring me that blue comb in the bathroom? Could you bring me that blue comb out the bathroom? Thank you. She got mad, slammed the phone. They're just throwing phones around. She's so mad. Did you get mad and throw the phone? We're joking. I know we're joking, babe. Could you hand me the comb in there? I'm going to sing the Boomer song into the comb like the first Cringecore song out of respect for America. What are you watching? Yeah. That's the replacement microphone. Jamie doesn't understand what I'm doing. I'm singing into the microphone even though there's a real microphone. All right, let's take it from the top. Let's see if I remember all the words to my first Cringecore song. Maybe there's lyrics. Let's see.
Back.
Take me back
To the Reagan era. Wall Street.
the bulls and bears.
Making moves. Buy and sell. Spread the word. Pacific nationalism. America
Oops.
to the ends of the globe. America to the black hole.
Needs to be more like first
Americanism. Boomer worldviews. Boom. Boomer worldviews.
Yeah. Buy a worldview.
Retire to Florida. Buy a van. Key Largo. Montego. The Beach Boys.
I don't remember the lyrics. Civic.
Mar-a-Lago.
Civic sodomy.
401k.
Gay.
Reagan era. America. Oh! Boomer town. Boomer time. Turn the time.
Turn the clock back.
Turn the time.
Turn the hands back.
Turn the hands of time. On the boomsday clock.
The boomsday clock.
Back a notch. Don't blow us all up,
Gorby.
Gorbachev.
All right, what do you guys think? Fun times? Flashback? It's a celebratory party day. What do you mean? What am I watching? What am I seeing? What is this? You're seeing a party, dude. A party on the screen. An E-party with an E-celeb. Don't blow us all up, Gorby. If I saw Gorby in person, I would be like, and then I'd get a little bit of that drip on his head. I'd be like, tastes strawberry. Get it? Because it's red. Soviet is strawberry. Y'all didn't even get that shit, yo. Yo, that shit was all over y'all's head, bro. Y'all didn't even get that jokes, dude. Yo, we got a wigger back in there of Soviet jokes and shit. It's too high tier for y'all, bro. Y'all down here looking at freaking, oh, let's watch a cat video. Oh, I don't understand this dude's jokes, bro. Yo, this is weird as hell. This is a weird wigger right here. This wigger weird right here. Anyway, what are we talking about? I actually had mostly a serious mindset about today. I didn't think we was going to be all retorted, but hey, dude, it's America. We is retorted, and we celebrate it, bro. We all about that retort. We just roll with it. You gotta roll with it. You gotta tard your time. You gotta say what is gay. Don't let any gay slip away, 'cause it's just too much for me to take. Anyway, as you guys know, we are, of course, Russian agents, as per David Boomer Wood. And so I thought it'd be funny to play the USSR national anthem, because we're KGB, even though KGB doesn't exist. It's been defunct for over 30 years. Yeah, but we're still the secret KGB, right? Anyway, America, the pros and the cons. I thought it would be interesting to look at this very academic text. So I pulled out one of my academic books on the dusty bookshelves, as people were saying underneath yesterday's Lord Voldemort. Why is this man speaking in front of dusty bookshelves? I guess if I was speaking in front of a bunch of dildos and gay dingalings, you would listen. Is that what it is in America now? That's how you get people's attention. Bunch of butts and rainbows. That's the only thing anybody cares about. It's a sacrament now, dude. So I have this enlightenment treatment from a scholar, Catherine Albanese. I've only read a few chapters that are sections out of this, not even entire chapters, but this isn't a very interesting academic text about, it's called Republic of Mind and Spirit, the Metaphysical Religion of America. And you can't really get into that without the deism and Freemasonic principles of the Enlightenment. And that's what we're going to kick off today with. It's not the only thing we're going to talk about. I've got a lot of things I want to talk about. I want to talk about Madonna, Katy Perry, okay, and Perry Katy. I want to talk about pop culture. I want to talk about Hamburglar. I want to talk about Grandmas. What's the proper pronunciation? Grimace, dude. I'm talking about Grimace. I want to talk about Bill Eilish, whatever his name is. I want to talk about William Hung. Okay, American Idol. I want to talk about all of it because it's all encompassed by Americanism. Freemasonry and the Enlightenment of the Village. Scottish Freemason Robert Moray in 1641. And the English version of Masonry, which Elias Ashmole celebrated as the founder of Oxford's Ashmolean Museum, were inducted into earlier 17th century Masonry and became significant figures to alter Masonry in North America and in the American colonies. As we have seen, operative Masonry was undergoing the crucial revolution that would transform Masonry into the speculative performance of the well-bred gentleman. By 1717, members of the so-called Four Old Lodges of London came together to create cremation of care, to create the premier Grand Lodge in England. Amongst the members were individuals who had also just recently created the Royal Society. This is why you hear me reference this kind of stuff frequently. The Royal Society of London was dedicated to all the new sciences. And at the emerging lodge's head were members installed into non-operative or accepted Masonry. The story of the colonies, that is American Masonry, moved well beyond that change. At first, it was a tale of attenuation to hermetic strands. People like Moray and Ashmole practiced ceremonial magic as well as, quote, science. Whatever the earlier strength may have been, it was also a story about the reinscription, or should I say the encryptions, of the Masonic secrets, moralistic terms that were once continued in the inscriptions of the past and simultaneously made new by dipping into the ink of American Protestant evangelical culture and circumstance. Finally, what if I'll do this whole talk today in Bishop Avery, God Logic, the senior, in his voice. I'm not going to do that. Finally, it became a tale of democratization, the division between modern and ancient lodges, the village enlightenment, to borrow the term of David Jaffe, to bring the Enlightenment discourse into America's colonial village setting. Freemasonry came to North America in Philadelphia in the 1730s. St. John's Lodge began in 1730, the following year, and formed itself into a Grand Lodge with Benjamin Franklin as a member. So don't forget the Hellfire Club. We'll take a little bit of a detour into the Hellfire Club for a moment. to let y'all know all of them sexy grannies that Ben Franklin was all about. Did y'all know he had a gilf fetish, shall we say? You didn't know that? Yes. Your boy Benny Franklin, who, by the way, looks like a grandma. My theory is that Ben Franklin had a grandma fetish because he just always looked like a grandma. Even when dude was like 20 years old, he was sporting that straight granny swag. He was looking like a grandma, dude. Hellfire Club. Let's check this out. Y'all know about this? This is very important. No, we ain't talking about no Marvel gay shit. We're talking about the Club of Jacobin. I want to find a good video. I don't know who these people are.
Through Medmenham Abbey, casting writhing...
Here we go.
The candles guttered...
This sounds like the voice of, I don't know, Count Dankula or Carl Benjamin. I don't know.
In midnight drafts that swept through Medmenham Abbey, casting writhing shadows across walls that had once echoed with monastic prayers. Now, in the dying years of the 18th century, those ancient stones harbored very different rituals.
The stones, the bones tell me nothing.
Through torchlit corridors, figures moved in monks' robes, not holy men, but England's nobility playing at sacrilege.
See, people don't talk about this aspect of the American founding. We always talk about the Enlightenment and Masonry. Yeah, I know all that. Oh, and colonial Anglicanism. Ooh. And we talk about Protestant Baptist elements, and we talk about Roman common law. Yeah. But what about the orgies with grannies, dude?
They called themselves the Order of the Friars of St. Francis of Wykeham, but history would know them by a darker name, the Hellfire Club. In the flickering darkness of a vaulted chamber, Sir Francis Dashwood raised a golden chalice, his face a mask of mock piety. Around him, members of Britain's elite politicians, aristocrats, artists participated in ceremonies that mocked the church and celebrated excess. The wine flowed freely, and with it loosened not just tongues.
So basically you got Franklin and some other people who were very influential on the early founding ideas. Basically the eyes wide shut of their day, right? We're talking about Epstein eyes wide shut level stuff. We're talking about, again, and it's not even, it's not, we've all seen eyes wide shut, I'm sure. We're not talking about supermodels. We're talking about grandmas, dude.
The very fabric of 18th century propriety. What truly happened in those shadowed rooms would become the stuff of legend, whispered about in London's coffee houses and parliamentary corridors. The Hellfire clubs of the 1700s represented more than mere debauchery. They were a dark mirror held up to the age of enlightenment, reflecting its contradictions and hypocrisy. In an era that prized reason and proper conduct, these secret societies offered release valves for society's repressed impulses. Their members were not society's outcasts, but its leaders. Men like Sir Francis Dashwood, who would serve as Britain's Chancellor of the Exchequer, and John Montagu, 4th Earl of Sandwich, whose name would become immortalized in culinary history. The origins of these infamous clubs trace back to the early 1700s, when the first Hellfire Club was established in London by Philip, Duke of Wharton. A notorious rake and political provocateur, Wharton created a society that openly mocked religion and morality. His club meetings, held in various London taverns...
You get the idea, right? Like, some of the Jacobins and people like Franklin and Thomas Jefferson, they had a lot of contacts and associations with the Jacobin side of the French Revolution, and those were the radical communist sort of pre-Bolshevik types who were just bloodthirsty lunatics, right? We're talking about people like Danton and Marat, Robespierre, these types of people.
Attracted attention for their blasphemous toasts and satirical ceremonies. The authorities, concerned about the club's influence, shut it down in 1721, but the seed had been planted. It was Sir Francis Dashwood who would perfect the formula, establishing his own Hellfire Club in the 1740s. He chose as his headquarters the ruins of Medmenham Abbey, a former Cistercian monastery on the banks of the Thames.
They always love the old ruins of the church to do the, the butt stuff in. By the way, yeah, people in the chat are already saying that they're familiar with Republic of Mind and Spirit. Yeah, somebody, a historian recommended that to me many, many years ago, and I've not gotten to it yet, other than that I did reference it in a couple chapters in the Freemason debate. And I wish that I had my Fire in the Minds of Men, but unfortunately I left that with at the Freemason debate. So now Chase Geyser has all my Mason books. Not all of them. I left one stack of them there. So I got to get my Mason books back from the Mason. He kept them. He didn't steal them. He kept them for me. So I appreciate him being cool about it. But he was nice enough to not destroy all of my Mason books that I left at our debate. But if you didn't see the Mason debate, I'm sure all you guys did, right? That one's kind of still climbing up. That one is, that was way more popular than I expected. I think part of the popularity, by the way, was that DJ, the guy that's a cool dude, producer guy. This actually got a bunch of Instagram clips that almost went kind of viral. There's one that's got like 400,000 views. So I think that's part of the reason why this debate got a lot of views. But even before the viral clips or semi-viral clips, I mean, it had over 100,000, but we're almost at 200,000 on a debate about Freemasonry. So way more popular than I would have. I would have thought maybe it'll get 50, 75,000 views, but that was way more popular than I expected. So if you missed that, check it out. But yeah, everybody should be familiar with the Hellfire Club.
The setting was...
But I really wish I had an even better book would have been Fire in the Minds of Men, because that's really a classic on this topic. The Billington book, Fire in the Minds of Men.
Deliberately provocative, a sacred space repurposed for profane activities. Dashwood had the Abbey renovated, adding classical statuary and Gothic touches that emphasized its new role as a temple of pleasure. The membership roster read like a who's who of 18...
So this is basically like I don't know how serious they were about their debauchery, but probably this is kind of like Anton LaVey level Church of Satan, you know what I mean?
Century Britain. Besides Dashwood and Montague, it included John Wilkes, the radical journalist and politician, Benjamin Franklin during his time in London, and various other members of Parliament and aristocracy. They styled themselves as monks of their unholy order, adopting pseudonyms and wearing ceremonial robes during their meetings. These gatherings combined elements of ancient...
I mean, I think a lot of this stuff was just to be playful and provocative. I mean, they could have taken their Satanism seriously, as possible too. It's probably debated how serious somebody like Benjamin Franklin was in terms of occultism. But I could see it going either way. I could see Ben Franklin being like a straight up 100% devil worshiper.
Cults, folk magic, and deliberate blasphemy. The Abbey's walls were decorated with erotic classical artwork and pagan symbols. The motto, "Do what thou wilt," was inscribed above the entrance.
This, by the way, is part of the reason why Crowley adopted it. Crowley didn't just come up with "Do what thou wilt." It was used first at the Abbey of who was it? I want to say, was it Marquis de Sade or the other guy? Right, there was two figures, but it was either Marquis de Sade or the other figure I'm thinking of that were using it. I think even before the Hellfire Club.
Dating Aleister Crowley's similar maxim by more than a century. Members would arrive by boat, often accompanied by guests, usually women from London's higher-class brothels, dressed as nuns for their elaborate ceremonies. The true nature of these ceremonies remains shrouded in mystery. Contemporary accounts speak of black masses, occult rituals, and orgies, but how much of this was reality and how much was rumor is impossible to determine. What is known is that the meetings combined liberty and philosophy with theatrical mockery of religious rites.
So liberty, equality, fraternity, that's, of course, the dictum of the Enlightenment and the French Revolution. And unfortunately, it's a huge dictum of the American ethos. And that false egalitarian, equalitarian idea that we get out of the Jacobins and the French Revolution and the Marxist socialist, even prior to Karl Marx. Again, for those that don't know, Marxism, socialism is already a brand of communism, socialism that came out of people like Weishaupt and the Jacobins of the French Revolution. But if you've never seen the famous Declaration of the Rights of Man, which is what the French revolutionaries drew up. See if we can get a big picture of it. So you'll notice there that it's underneath the all-seeing eye of, quote, divine providence. And I understand, no, the all-seeing eye is not literally only ever used by Masons, but typically it is. I mean, a lot of the time it is. Not always. Sometimes it could be used, perhaps unknowingly. People think, well, it's just the eye of divine providence. It's just a symbol. It's just a symbol. It could signify omniscience, or it might signify, the deity of Freemasonry, and that's certainly the significance in the Masonic documents, right? And so you can see here, this is the preamble to the Declaration of the Rights of Man. Out of the French Revolution, they wore the Phrygian cap or the Mithra cap. And if you didn't know, Jamie just posted her podcast on the history of the Mithra cult. She's been reading a lot of history books lately. But that is the Declaration of the Rights of Man. Let's see if we can read it. Translated version of it. Let's see what the actual French Revolutionary documents. Well, here's a summary of it. It says, a single set of rights for all men, influenced by the doctrine of natural rights out of the Enlightenment. The idea here is that these would be somehow universal at all times and all places. Men are born and remain free and equal. Social distinctions must be founded on the, quote, general good. Men have a right to property, liberty, and life. According to this theory, the role of government is to just secure the, quote, rights. Government should always be carried out by, quote, elected officials. So the idea here is that power comes from the bottom up. It's not total democracy or egalitarian, equalitarian forms of democracy. It's at least the idea of a republic, right? The republic is the idea of elected leaders who represent their people or their district or their area or whatever. And so republicanism is the ethos that we see out of the Enlightenment. Many of the figures at this time were the merchant class and the nobility class, the lower nobles and the merchant class. They really made up a lot of the French Revolution. Some of them more liberal in terms of being outright socialist, communist Jacobins, and others called the Girondins, who were the more, quote, right-wing revolutionaries. But they're all two sides of a revolutionary dialectic that make up one of the strands of what we call the classical liberal ethos or classical liberalism. So classical liberalism is the rise of capitalism. And this is figures, again, prior to this, the French Revolution, but figures like David Ricardo, Adam Smith, John Locke. It's laissez-faire economic theory. It's also Immanuel Kant. For those that don't know, Kant wrote a treatise on global government. Kant thought that once all the nations understand the value of international trade, then war would disappear. It was that naive, right? Oh, well, we won't have fighting anymore when everybody's getting stacking cheddar. When they're getting that Getty green, well, there won't be war anymore. I mean, how naive is that to think that, as if the only cause of war is just people getting paid? I mean, it's silly. But this is the Enlightenment idea, right? The universalization of so-called rights and the removal of any specific deity. So there's no specific God. There's no Jesus Christ, Son of the Father, together with the Holy Spirit. It's not Trinitarian. It's the Masonic ethos of generic theism, classical, quote, theism. But once you remove the specificity of the deity, you can then plug in any deity that you want. And that's the chief problem here. Enlightenment deism leaves it open. So obviously you can see, if you come at this from a presuppositional paradigm level understanding, so I can just plug in Satan as the deity? I can plug in Yakub? Why not? Of course you can. There's no reason why, because it's up to the rights of the individual to decide the deity that you worship. That's in fact enshrined in the so-called rights, the rights freedom of worship, freedom of thought, freedom of private interpretation, all of which already come out of the Reformation, you see. So you can see the Reformation leading to the principles of the French Revolution and the Enlightenment deism, Enlightenment masonry. And while it's true that masonry did find certain inroads into areas of Catholicism and Orthodoxy, it was much easier to get into Protestantism. Protestantism was way more Masonic or quasi-Masonic historically than either Orthodoxy or Catholicism. You don't really find people in those spheres getting into masonry until the late 1800s and into the 20th century. That's when you get a lot more presence of secretly and then openly Masonic clerics, bishops, and even patriarchs, and perhaps even popes. There's a lot of speculation that John the 23rd and Paul the 6th had actually become Freemasons. And even before that, there's significant evidence that Cardinal Rampolla, who was almost elected pope, was himself not just a Freemason, but perhaps even a member of the OTO, that he had been inducted into one of the OTO lodges, which is just a form of black magic masonry that's supposedly not recognized, as if that means anything. But you can see here that the substance of these declarations also, they're not just kind of an attack on feudalism. They also hit at a lot of principles, again, that the Reformation had already kind of highlighted. So we don't want the Pope telling us what to do geopolitically. Why is this guy in Rome, who is supposed to be a successor to Peter, having standing armies? He's got an entire, city state. He's, calling on princes to go to war for him. And if you don't go to war for him, you're excommunicated. So you can begin to see why some of the grievances of the reformers and of the princes against the Pope were legitimate. That doesn't mean that the Reformation answer is the answer. But you can see that some of these ideas we could agree with. We could agree with, okay, rule by law, that makes, rule of law makes sense. But the idea that all men are equal, this is tremendously ambiguous. Okay, what do you mean? Do you mean equal before law? Or do you mean biologically, ontologically equal? Do you mean that they're all equally well-bred? That's obviously not true. So packed within these weaponized ambiguities, and people need to understand that there is weaponized ambiguity, that's a lot of what's going on in the Enlightenment and in the revolutions of these periods. Weaponized ambiguity. Because what do you mean? And in what sense? Because somebody can be equal in one sense and not equal in another sense. Think about Trinitarian theology, right? The Father, the Son, and the Spirit are equal in one sense of having the same divine nature, but they're not all equal in the sense of having the same role in the Godhead. For example, the Father is the sole cause, according to patristic and conciliar dogmatic theology at Constantinople I. The Holy Spirit is not a cause, and even the Roman Catholics admit that. So clearly, equality in one sense is not extended to every sense. Okay, this is a basic philosophical distinction that, for whatever reason, many, many, many people cannot understand. So, for example, between men and women, in one sense, they are equal in that they share a common human nature. But it doesn't follow from that all of the roles and all of the expectations are identical. And you can already see, if you're perceptive here, as we pointed out for probably 20 years now, because I started critiquing Americanism 20 years ago, as you guys saw when I mentioned in the SSPX stream. That was where I really got to be familiar with more high-tier, sort of classical European critiques of libertarian, classical, liberal thought. If we think about the history of the church and the Old Testament, there's no libertarianism. There's no history of the 2,000 years of the church of Democrat saints. There's no Republican saints. They're all monarchists. So what does that tell you? The history of the church is obviously monarchical, whether you like it or not. That's just a fact. And the Enlightenment ideas, again, they're not all wrong. It's just that, in my view, they're weaponized ambiguities that don't really have much of a foundation. And certainly some of these philosophers of the Enlightenment, I mean, they tried to give it a foundation, right? John Locke tried to give it this vast empiricist foundation for example, when I was an undergrad, I had to read 2 treatises on government, right? Which is John Locke's 2 big books on social contract and all this kind of stuff, and the ideas of the Enlightenment. But if you read John Locke's other books about empiricism, you can see that, well, this is all bound up with his presuppositions about metaphysics. And the whole philosophy is only as good as the metaphysical presuppositions. And if his presuppositions are trash, then the whole thing's going to be trashed. By the way, I'm not done debating. I'm just done debating dum-dums. No more low-tier tard debates. Now, I can't control if somebody calls in and they're a low-tier goober and they debate. I might still interact. But the goal now is to avoid the low-tier tard debates and to only take formal debates. I had a long talk with Father Josiah Trenham. He gave a lot of good advice. I asked him, hey, what's your advice? What would you do? And he had some really good takes. My advice to you would be to do not take low-tier debates. Try to focus on debates where you can display your best qualities. That's my impression. I'm not dissing Father Josiah. I like Father Josiah a lot. He was very cool to talk to. And talked to Father Stephen DeYoung too. He had some good advice. He said something very similar. So I think the goal for debating, because people are asking, I'm so glad that you're not debating. Now we can have high tier. We're going to do it all, dude. We've always been doing it all. Anyway, Captain Crackrock Part 4 confirmed. That's what I'm saying. It's like the people who want to bitch, they only find these low-tier goobers, and then they're like, look how mean he is to this lunatic. Like, yeah, you mean somebody who's like a raving, insane, foaming at the mouth, like demonically possessed heretic? Oh my gosh, I'm so mean. But anyway, so we're talking about Enlightenment ideas, pros and cons. Let's get back to this. Again, the ideas are just super vague. We don't know. I mean, I believe in individual sovereignty. I'm a sovereign citizen. I believe in individual. What is that? Individual sovereignty in what way? Like, can you declare yourself king of, your small town? Can you declare yourself king of your little, militia? I mean, it's, you see what I'm saying? It's like, it's all these things are just phrases, slogans, and they're never actually fleshed out, because they were actually meant to be vague slogans to reach the masses. So the idea was to overthrow the feudal order and to have unrestricted free press, unrestricted freedom of association, and total social equality. Now, the problem with this was, beyond all that, is that this is overthrowing the existing European order. And for whatever flaws there might have been in monarchy or whatever, to revolutionize and overthrow the social order is very dangerous, because a lot of times in the history of revolutions, and I've studied revolutions extensively in academia, grad school, undergrad, a lot of times the revolutionaries' idealized idea of what's going to work is even worse. Oh no, well, you see, we're going to have to essentially behead all of the upper class because you're not listening to us. And all of the lower class that doesn't go along with our socialist revolution must also be beheaded because you are keeping and holding back the revolution. Now, what's really going on in the background of a lot of this is the management of dialectics. And I'm absolutely convinced that a lot of people, especially in terms of high-level statecraft, people at the level of the Rothschilds, we just read the biography, they explicitly say they understand dialectics and they think in terms of long-term strategies and game plans. So they're not interested in just some local political squabble. They're interested in a long-term game plan of establishing things like freedom of religion, freedom of the press, so that they could rise up in stature and power. That's in the Rothschilds' biography, because there were previous restrictions on them as to what offices they could occupy. And if you want to, for example, promote something like freedom of religion, freedom of the press, all these sorts of freedom of worship, whatever, then you want to promote total equality so that those previous restrictions are not there. And whether you think they're good or bad, that's just a fact. That's what happened. So the Declaration of Rights of Man is sort of this bastardized atheist version of like a Ten Commandments, right? It's like the Enlightenment, Masonic, deist, atheist version of Ten Commandments. But the problem is that there's no God or deity. There's nothing that backs it up. If the social contract is what grounds and backs this up, then those can go away as soon as the social idea changes. If they're essentially social constructs, and that's all this is, then they can be taken away. Oh, but you see, these are rights. What's a right? What is that? Where is that under a microscope? Where is a right grounded? Oh, in nature. Okay, that's the naturalist fallacy. That's the appeal to nature fallacy. Because I look out at nature, I see predator and prey. So are we talking about the lion and the antelope? Because the antelope doesn't seem to have a lot of rights in that scenario. So when you say nature, what are you talking about? So, and the problem is that because the Enlightenment and the revolutionary philosophers had already discarded metaphysics, if you don't know, this is the entire approach of John Locke, David Hume, and Immanuel Kant, is to deny metaphysics. They psychologize everything, and they turn ideology away from, the principles of metaphysics to the study of the human mind and epistemology and ultimately psychology. Because even epistemology eventually collapses into just pure psychologism in the trek of history of philosophy in the West. So once you've gotten rid of metaphysics, then the Enlightenment eats itself. Oh, well, what are the rights? What's the basis for a right? Oh, it's enshrined in this magical document that the Masons drew up. Oh, well, if it's enshrined in a magical Mason document, then magical Masons can remove the rights, can't they? Can they just draw up another document? By the way, if I'm a sovereign citizen, can I draw up my own document? You see how silly this is. It's like Protestantism. Oh, no, you're not the infallible interpreter of the rights. Oh, who is? Me, as an individual. And even again, the idea of the rights is just so ambiguous as to, again, what does that mean? I think what they were going for was the lower classes having protection by law. And if the reforms that were, I'm not a Reformation, but if the reforms that were interesting or were, if the parties in these revolutionary movements were interested in actually protecting the lower classes, which I don't think they actually were, because revolutionaries actually usually hate the lower classes, even though they pretend that they're the face of the masses. If they actually wanted that, they would have just worked towards greater protections for workers and the peasants or whatever. And they would have worked with, the existing Christian framework. But to overthrow the existing Christian structure and framework, again, remember Masonry has as one of its rituals the destruction of throne and altar, church and state, throne and altar. And again, to the vantage point of the Mason, they don't care if you're Orthodox or Roman Catholic. Okay, they don't care about that. They see all of these things as just sort of manifestations of perversions of Masonry, right? Because Freemasonry sees itself kind of like the perennialists do, in that their system is the true higher structure, and that all the world religions are just sort of variations of ancient mystic Masonry, right? That's their perspective. And if you doubt me on that, no, that's exactly what Albert Pike says in Morals and Dogma, right? I have Morals and Dogma. I'm very familiar with it. I read a lot of it, read the whole thing, but I've read many, many, many significant chapters in Morals and Dogma, and what we get from the Bible of Masonry by Albert Pike is precisely his own sort of bastardized version of perennialism, or the Sophia Perennis, the idea that all the world religions are really just these sort of manifestations or cloaks, costumes that are worn by the supra religion, the ancient, primal, lost super religion, which is usually some form of Neoplatonism. A lot of the perennialists, whether it's amongst the Sufis or whether it's amongst ritual magicians, some of those people are into perennialism. Their idea is that there's no true religion other than their perennialism. And we're all sort of on a track to discover the true ancient religion. You can see then how this is very amenable to ecumenism. Although ecumenism is not high-tier esoteric metaphysics, it's kind of the same basic idea, right? We're going to discover the church at the end of history. It's a diapraxical, dialogical process to arrive at church at the end of history, which is really just the anti-church, because ecumenism has antichrist presuppositions the entire time. So hopefully you can see where this goes, and that's why the antidote to all of this is to presup them. These people cannot handle presup because their entire assumptions rest on classical foundationalism, not just classical liberalism, but the epistemology of the Enlightenment philosophers, whether it's Locke or Hume or Kant. Their epistemology is basic bitch empiricism, which is necessarily connected most of the time. Most, not always, but most of the time to some form of like self-evidence and foundationalism. So that actually goes all the way back to ancient Greek dialectics. You want Plato or you want Aristotle, right? And again, if you're Orthodox, those are false dialectics, right? There might be some good arguments in Aristotle, some good arguments in Plato, but I'm not going to be wedded to either of these anti-Christian, Hellenic metaphysical systems, because they're all based on dialectical oppositions explicitly. Dialectics didn't begin with Karl Marx. It goes back to ancient religions, and it goes back to the Greeks, who are all about dialectics. So when you begin to presup, when you question the assumptions and the groundings of the religion of the Enlightenment deism, Enlightenment masonry, social contract, natural rights, all these things, they have no clue what they can't do anything. They just all immediately collapse, which is why we have been here, at least in the internet sphere, for over 10 years critiquing classical liberalism. And if you guys remember when the ALTRIGHT appeared, they had the same critique that we offer of classical liberalism. One of my first Jordan Peterson videos is now 10 years old. 10 years ago, I critiqued Jordan Peterson on classical liberalism. When I put that video up, that video was massively downvoted. Remember back when YouTube would allow you to see the thumbs down? Okay, so 9 years ago.
Dyer.
So this is me back when I was carb bloated. I think this is right when I quit drinking, or right after I quit drinking alcohol. So I would soon de-bloat, don't worry. But this video was massively downvoted back in the day. Almost all the comments were negative because at that time, everyone was so enamored with Jordan Peterson's representation of classical liberalism. And I always spoke positively of the aspects of Jordan Peterson that I liked and appreciated. And my, how things have changed, because who ended up being correct in this whole thing? Me. I was correct. And over time, by the way, the stats on this video have completely flipped. They're now way in the positive, 2,500 likes, 70,000 views, which for my channel is good. But you'll notice that all the stuff that I'm saying today, it's no different than what I said in this video almost 10 years ago. Critiquing classical liberalism from the same vantage point. Now, unfortunately, it's taken 10 years to begin to move the Overton window for people to understand, dude, it's not just the uniparty Okay. I learned about the uniparty problem when I was reading Ron Paul and all that stuff in the 2000s. Okay. The problem, unfortunately, which is a hard pill for everybody to swallow on 4th of July, is Americanism itself is part of the Enlightenment dialectic. But there's good points in America. Yeah, that's why it's a dialectic. That's why it works. They wouldn't use dialectics if it didn't work. So the point is not, are there any good principles in America's founding documents? Of course. And that's because America's founding documents and ideology don't come from one single source. There's a host of sources. There's Machiavelli. There's the Italian Republic, had a huge influence on America in the founding documents. There's John Locke's philosophy, which has good and bad. In fact, the first phrase of Declaration of Independence is literally just bastardized from John Locke. There's common law, Roman common law, European common law is part. My hair is driving me crazy. I can't get the swoop to do right. There is biblical law that's an influence on American founding. So I usually say, look, best case scenario, steel manning it, America is half Christian. That's my assessment. From its very founding ethos, it's about half Christian in its principles and ideas, at best, okay? Oh, well, there we go. That's good. No, it's not good enough. Because when we say one nation under God, what God? Satan? Yakub? Who's the God? The ethos of America is, whether we like it or not, to not specify the deity. Well, that's how we all get along. Yeah, but we can't all get along. I don't share the same paradigm as a Yacubian Nation of Islam guy when he thinks his deity is Yakub. If a Scientologist says they believe in one God, which is some generic mind, that's what they kind of believe. That doesn't mean I have the same worldview as a Scientologist because they, quote, believe in one God. It's amazing to me how obvious this is, and yet we still have all of the talking heads, all of the, people, Trent Horn, they all want to defend the idea of generic theism. It's absolutely worthless as an idea. And it's not just the Freemasons that came up with it. Classical theism that precedes the Masons were already teaching generic theism. That is classical theism. If you look up Dr. Ed Fazer's definition of classical theism, he says classical theism is the deity of Plotinus, Aristotle, Avicenna, Mohammed, the Jews, and Jesus. No, that's not the same God. Muslims say God is not a father. Jesus says God is my father. So right there, an obvious disqualifier. They're not the same. They cannot be the same referent because they explicitly deny essential attributes that signify the referent. It's like, this is so basic, it's very bizarre, and it's really because we've all been raised in Americanism. We've grown up with the idea, well, bro, we're one nation under God. It says it on our fiat dollar bill with all seeing eye on it, which was put on there by a bunch of weird creep Masons like Henry Wallace and socialists. Yeah, do you think Henry Wallace, with his weird theosophy views, do you think he has the same view as you as a Christian? We had a Orthodox priest under the EP the other day wrote a page of criticism of me over this issue. Jay Dyer can move to Russia because he believes that the great, wonderful benefits of the Enlightenment are bad. Well, I'm being very precise about the aspects that were good and bad. And by the way, modern Russia has all the same Enlightenment ideas. What are you talking about? When did I say that Russia was the solution I never even said that. They just assume all these things about me. And it's no different than when I critiqued Jordan Peterson 10 years ago. You just hate Jordan Peterson because you're jealous. You blah, 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 blah. It's all about me. It's like, well, did you listen to any of the arguments I made? Because the point in this video was to say, and here's the key point I want to get to modern America to bring it up to speed. The key point was to say, look, the same presuppositions of classical liberal Enlightenment equalitarianism which I know the Enlightenment philosophers and thinkers didn't believe in actual equalitarianism. This is the part where it's crazy. But the problem is that when you have that ambiguous language of all men are created equal, it leads to the stages. Oh, thank you. Are you good? You feeling sick? It leads to the stages of ontological equality. Well, if I'm equal to everyone else and everything is purely equalized and all men are equal, then there's nothing that says I can't be something else. And if I'm an atomized individual, which was the whole Enlightenment philosophy's ethos, then as an atomized individual, I can individualize myself to be even what I wasn't yesterday. Why am I bound by what I was as a young man, as a male? Why am I bound by society or my family's programming that I have to be a dude, you see? And I've always thought that one of the key reasons why people keep getting forced into not admitting that is because as soon as you admit that there's something ontological about being a male, for example, that also means there's something ontological about your heritage. That means that you don't just come out of a blob of Gumby people goo that you're formed into something that you can just reform into a new thing. It means, you're a white dude. I'm not talking about me because I'm BIPOC, but I'm saying for most of y'all out there in this audience. In other words, it would force these people to admit the reality of ethnicity, which they can't admit. And they can't admit that because a lot of these people are so stupid. They're low tier, they're low IQ. They think that if you admit that ethnicity or race exists, that must then mean that you are saying that's the most important quality and you now hate all the other people. But that's all brainwashing. Because no Chinese person thinks that because they believe and know that they're Chinese, that therefore means they must therefore hate all of the other people. It doesn't logically follow. Right? But everyone is so deathly afraid of the new civic sins of, quote, racism, or the civic sin of, non-equalitarianism in whatever form. Thank you. That they're deathly afraid of offending against the religion of democracy and equalitarianism. Now, I don't agree with all of the new right thinkers in Europe, but many of the new right thinkers in Europe have written very significant critiques of this idea of the logical process of the illogic of the Enlightenment, going from universalized rights to then denying identity to then you being able to, like a consumer, choose and buy your identity. Oh, I'll just add a plastic ding dong and I become a man from a woman or whatever. I'll cut it off and now I become that. I've paid the plastic surgeon and now I am the other identity because I purchased it like a consumer product. As if you can't you're grounded in the family, the time, the nation that you're born into. But unfortunately, America's Enlightenment ethos has invented the idea that a nation state or an ethnos can be replaced with propositional affirmations. Now, in the Byzantine model, that's kind of possible. You could have, for example, a Byzantine imperium whereby the existing ethnos and people groups existed in a one and many relationship, right? And the idea is to balance the one and the many such that there's no Greek ethno pride that makes you superior to another Orthodox Christian nation. You might have gifts as Greek people or as the Greeks that are unique to you, but you're still within a common framework of a universalized gospel. If you read Father St. Seraphim Rose, he says the exact same thing in Religion of the Revolution. But the entire ethos of modern and postmodern ideology and Marxist and all of that is essentially to manipulate everybody's ideas to where everything is a dialectical opposition of everything else. So if I identify as some niche, weird, fake minority group of I'm TRANZ, I'm a furry, I'm whatever, then I'm part of this group that gives me a group identity that replaces my actual historical group identity from my family and wherever I'm from, my tradition, my ethnicity. That's now replaced by this bizarre, weird new cult of fan fiction, fantasy, LARPing, where I pretend that I'm a brony or a My Little Pony or a furry or whatever. Now, those are extreme examples, but that's the result of this whole dialectical process of setting everything in dialectical tensions. I've been saying this for so long. I don't know why it's so hard for people to see this, but this is the Enlightenment philosophy. This is the logical result of Enlightenment. In fact, if you read Father St. Seraphim Rose's book, Nihilism, Roots of the Modern Revolution, he's saying everything that I'm saying to you in that book. Everything I'm saying is just what's in that book. The only way for nations, and this is never going to exist in this life perfectly, right? But really the only way for nations to exist in a sort of harmony is like what you have in a Byzantine model. We're not ever going to go back to Byzantium. I'm not living in some LARPing medieval crusader tradcat idea. We're not going back to the Middle Ages. That's never happening. But for whatever forms come in the future, and we do have a power and ability to create new forms, whatever forms do come in the future, the wise patristic approach and the Byzantine model approach is that you do have a symphonia between church and state working together. The state is not an evil entity. It's not to be destroyed. It should have limitations. It should have limitations that pertain to the sphere of the body politic, to justice, criminal justice, etc. And then you have the church, which deals with the spiritual side, the soul of man. And that's the spiritual and the temporal, right? And it doesn't mean that because you have these two spheres, that somehow, now you want to take over America in a political revolution and enforce Byzantium. This is the first thing every retard says when I say this. No, of course not. When the Roman Empire was conquered, the Christians didn't conquer it with swords. They conquered it through martyrdom. And you only have a Christian government when you have the majority of the people believing and agreeing in that position. And I'm not saying that, that makes it bottom up. It's not bottom up in the Christian scheme, because once the majority of the people want that, the history of the church has been coronation. The church has a quasi-sacramental service where they anoint the ruler, and that comes out of the Old Testament. So this whole idea that, but we worship voting and democracy, that's all an illusion. And we've all figured out that this voting bullshit is fake and gay, dude. I mean, in so many ways. Now, at the local level, it's probably still works to a degree. So your local sheriff and whatever, that's a lot more useful. But even that's kind of a psyop, because that just makes everybody think that, it's just like that with president. I'm going to vote Trump back in. We're going to get him. It's like, dude, voting is fake. It doesn't even work. It's fake and gay. Why do you even think that your vote has anything to do with you? You don't know that dude 1,000 miles away in Washington. You don't know what lobby groups he's made deals with. The whole process is just retarded. You want to destroy our democracy. There is no democracy. Democracy is a lie. The very idea of democracy is literally to appeal to the basest desires for the largest number of people. So whatever oligarch has the biggest amount of money and war chest to fund the most widespread, most debased things will always win. Because it's just like an ad campaign. So things will never actually change until we begin to think outside of Enlightenment dialectics and the religion of democracy and the religion of the founding documents and the founding fathers. And by golly, when they drew up those documents, they sprinkled that powdered wig. They had that powdered wig dust, and they patted that powdered wig, and that magic dust, it fell down on the documents. And George Washington chopped down a cherry tree with magic cherry wood. And like Harry Potter's magic wand, he signed it in his own blood and blah, blah, blah. It's just like, you guys have a Bible. It's like the way Protestants think of the inspiration of the Bible is like how they think the founding fathers, like they inspired the founding documents with their powdered wig dust. Margaret. but we got eagles and guns and titties. Do you know how many memes and shit I've seen? I'm like, I try to filter out all that boomer slop, dude. I'm still seeing freaking guns and titties. It's like, American guns and titties. So, I don't want to just spend too long on a bunch of, historical philosophy stuff. Surely you guys have been aware. But look, just go back and watch my old videos, dude. I've been saying this stuff the whole time. Where y'all been at? No, we just need a far-right voice to scream on the internet. And if we just scream enough on how many times do you see these far-right, quote-unquote, goobers? They don't have any actual solution. They just become a cult of personality. And then the whole movement collapses, and then they turn into being Democrats and weirdos. Richard Spencer, classic, same old thing you see with all the we're gonna rise up. We're gonna rise up. Well, how are you gonna rise up when the solutions aren't even any solutions other than just following some weirdo on the internet? There's no weirdo you're gonna follow on the internet that's gonna change America's demographics, because we're all already working within a controlled magic circle. And it's going to take generations in reality to get out of this mess. This is what we learned from Rothschild's biography. How did the Rothschilds go from being broke to being broke ass wiggers to running the world, dude? They thought generationally. And it took them 2 or 3 generations before they got into that level of power. Oh, so you're saying we got to be evil and do what the right? No, I'm not saying that, dummy. I'm saying that thinking generationally is the only way out of it. You can't solve the problems of a controlled, engineered dialectical system run by a bunch of plutocrats and oligarchs and deep state bureaucrats by voting in another goober who doesn't even have the power to change the system itself. It is the system that's the problem, right? Oh, you're a Marxist. So no, not a Marxist. Admitting that a Marxist has one good point doesn't make me a Marxist. Admitting that a Muslim made one good argument doesn't make me a Muslim. Admitting that Plato had one good argument doesn't make me a Platonist. So again, you got to get past all of this low-level shit, dude. Let's read a couple super chats because we already got a bunch. You guys are being generous. Welcome to today's classical liberal Americanism critique. It's not all bad. We got the good, the bad, and the ugly. We'll talk some more about the good points too, because I don't want this to come off like it's all just negative. He just wants us to be unhappy on 4th of July. That's why he's a Russian agent. Dude, Russia has the same problems, dummy. Russia has all the same Soviet bureaucratic holdover problems. It has the same classical liberal problems. It has the same problems of being tempted towards globalization and technocracy. Because we're hundreds of years into Western revolutionary ideas that have spread throughout the entire world. So it's probably going to take a couple hundred years or more to get out of it, to move back in the right direction. Anyway, so I will remind you guys, I think this classical liberal critique, and you'll see the only argument I was making in that video that was so controversial, if you remember, Jordan Peterson first kind of gained a lot of popularity, at least when he went mega viral, right, was when he was going off because they were trying to pass a law that was going to force him to call a trans person by the gender that they claim they have. Remember that? And Jordan Peterson, to his credit, hell no, I'll never do it. Fuck off. I told him to fuck off. The hell, go to hell. And it's like, yeah, but you can say that, but you have the same classical liberal ethos of those people. Until you question the presuppositions of classical liberalism. And by the way, again, to Jordan Peterson's credit, many, many, many years later, before he started getting, really sick again the last couple of years, he was beginning to say classical liberalism might actually be the problem. When I went and debated Tim Pool, same debate I've been having for so many years. Tim Pool's, no, the solution is individual sovereignty, basic bitch, classical libertarianism. Dude, what century are you living in? Are you a 17-year-old? It's time to grow out of that, dog. Spirit-led, let's do some super chats here. Nectarios, $10. Hail his wigglency. Crowns TV. A wigger in motion stays in motion. Sir Isaac Newton. It's actually Sir Isaac Dontarius Newton. You misquoted that. D. Jules says, Jay, watch Occult History of the Third Reich. It talks about Blavatsky. I'm aware of that. I've read many books on that. That's why, again, so many right-wing options that are given. The problem isn't that the right people, the right-wingers or the far right, they'll have a lot of the right critiques, but their solutions are always crazy, dude. It's like, yeah, we got to get rid of usury and banking control, this. Oh, and by the way, the solution is to have a wizard magician in a castle in control. Yeah, if we only had government by sorcerers, right? If we just let freaking Dumbledore rule from the German-Austrian palace of Saint Wizard, yeah, dude, then we could set up like a Transylvanian autocracy. That's just crazy shit, dude. Oh, if we only had Savitri Devi and what does she call her position? Like mystical Hitlerism, just crazy shit. What are you talking about? I'm talking about like Julius. That's like the Julius Evola. Right? Oh yes, if we only had elite nobles ruling from Castle Grayskull, using the magical powers of elite sophistry. No, we're not going to have magical sorcerer wizard government. That's not going to work. We could have kings though. David Blaine for president. Spirit-led Paul. PBR, where's your past blue ribbon and your hot dogs? That's America. For when I was broke, when I did drink PBRs, because when it comes to like cheap beer, those were the ones that was the better end of cheap beer. But I haven't had a beer in 10 years, literally 10 years. I've only had one sip of wine once in 10 years too, and that's when we were with those Italian princesses. We got invited to a vineyard and met two of the Italian Giacardini Strozzi princesses. I was like, all right, well, in this situation, I will have a glass of wine. It was just a little one. Anyway, so let's do a little bit more of this because this is really fascinating, and then I'll read some more super chats.
Wine would be drunk from chalices, prayers would be said backwards, and various acts of blasphemy would be performed. But beneath the surface of mere hedonism lay deeper currents of political and philosophical rebellion. Many club members were involved in the period's radical politics. John Wilkes used the club's connections to advance his campaigns for press freedom and parliamentary reform.
Boom, there we go. All the same enlightenment liberal propositions. Jay, you're wrong. It's not wizards that should run things. We need a Wigga Kraken to unalive all the global elites, and then we set up a utopia. I like this idea of a wizard, a wigzard. There you go. We got to make a meme of that. Let's use some AI slop to create me as a wigzard, the wizard of Byzantium. We'll have a wizard wigger imperium, and I will use my magic pimp staff, and I will conjure up Cthulhu's from the ocean to attack our enemies. That way we could actually implement some of the Julius Evola sorcery principles in our governance.
Franklin's presence suggests that serious discussions of liberty and governance occurred alongside the revelry. The psychological appeal of the Hellfire Club to its elite membership reveals much about the period's social pressures, These were men who, in their public lives, had to maintain rigid standards of propriety and religious observance. The club offered them a space where these restrictions could be safely transgressed. It was rebellion without risk, or so they thought. Rumors of darker activities persisted. Stories circulated of members practicing black magic, of sacrificial rituals, of deaths covered up by powerful connections. While no murders were ever proven, several mysterious deaths were linked to club members over the years. The remote abbey, with its underground chambers and secret passages, certainly provided ample opportunity for concealment. The club's activities eventually attracted too much attention. A series of scandals in the 1760s forced Dashwood to scale back.
Yeah, I like that better. A whizzer. I'm not a wigger. I'm not a wizard. I'm a whizzer, which is a combination of the two.
The meetings. The political careers of several members were damaged by their association with the club. John Wilkes was forced into exile after publishing inflammatory materials, though he would later return triumphantly to Parliament. Yet the legend of the Hellfire Club grew larger in public imagination than the reality ever was. It became a symbol of aristocratic excess and moral corruption, featured in Gothic novels and political satires. The ruins of Medmenham Abbey became a tourist attraction, with visitors hoping to glimpse evidence of the infamous gatherings. Modern historians have attempted to separate fact from fiction in the Hellfire Club story. While the basic outline is clear wealthy men engaging in taboo behavior in a
And so again, this is the rarely mentioned American ethos that we have as part of our founding ideas. The Hellfire Club, the early Satanists and their influence on America. By the way, I will be at DebateCon 8, and I will be debating that goofy Muslim dude, Waleed, who believes that God the Father is a physical dude with a body. So I'll be debating a Mormon Muslim. And I will be debating Jake, the Muslim metaphysician, on Islamic versus Christian civilization. And you can use the promo code right here, 20 from Jay, to get 20% off that debate ticket. There's different codes, different packages. You'll have to go and see which you want to do. And that is in a couple weeks, 21 days away, July 25th and 26th in Dallas, Texas, at the Holiday Inn there in the conference room. I'll be debating. And there's a bunch of people who are going to be there. I'm toying with doing a dance routine in front of God Logic and see what he does. It'd be funny if I trolled God Logic by showing up and doing his dance routine with white gloves. Like, what would God Logic think if he'd get so mad if I did that? It'd be funny though. JB Peltier says football, exactly. Sports hole, that's what we worship in America. Oh, I forgot to put sports hole. That's the other god of America. Sports hole. Look at them black men sweating, running. Tommy says for $5, I wish I could make every boomer watch Clockwork Orange. Well, you might could, but they wouldn't get it. They would be like, I don't understand what the problem is. What the hell is that movie about? Teddy Jackson says for $10, hey, that book, Republic of Mind and Spirit, is really good. Glad to see that you got it. Shocked me that occultism and hermeticism were a powerful strain of thought in the American founding. Absolutely. That's what we're getting at today. Crowns, $5. I'm a channel member. I'm also a shareholder. I would appreciate a bookshelf tour. We did that a long time ago. The problem is that we have two places now, and there's books. There's a whole other book, a whole other library at the other place. So this room is whole wall is books, that whole wall is books. And then we have another room that is exactly the same with wall-to-wall books. So, because Jamie combined her book fortune with my book fortune. So we have massive bookage here. It's like we got 2 bedrooms that are just libraries. And we don't even have enough room for the other, like they're still stacked everywhere. So, but man, after, you know how many shelves we bought from frickin' IKEA to do all this? It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 16. There's 20 of these shelves, and it's still not enough. There's still books everywhere, stacked up, not even on a shelf. I want to get rid of some of these books too. Not a lot of them, but I would say probably one whole book's worth is just garbage books that are not ever going to get read. I'm like, why did I even buy that? Avant-garde, $15. You have brought honor to Socrates with your open debates. Enlightenment America, thank you very much. Well, debating isn't actually from the Enlightenment. I mean, debating is ancient pedagogy. Ancient philosophers debated. Medieval philosophers, people in Byzantium debated theology all the time. The laity debated all the time. The Cappadocians talked about how everybody would be debating theology all the time, anywhere. So, it's not just an Enlightenment thing. Bird says, when I was in the gay Episcopal Church, it was actually full of Freemasons. Yes, we should actually do a talk on that sometime. The influence of Freemasonry on the Anglican churches, because once the Grand Lodge was established in 1717 in England, it became very normative, very normal and acceptable for many, many Anglican clerics throughout the world to also be part of Freemasonry, because as we know, as you guys have heard me say many times, British Freemasonry became part of their network of intelligence. So, because since there were lodges throughout the entire world, made perfect sense for the British Empire to utilize the Masonic lodges as part of their intelligence apparatus and network. The stained glass windows had a lot of images in the Anglican churches about the improved society of red men. Interesting. Is that one of like a Masonic sect or something? Victor Ziegler, $10. Where does the obsession in America come with legal punishment come from? I guess because, we made the judicial branch a very important part of our system as one of the branches, that it just became natural to the American ethos to settle issues legally, I guess. I mean, I'm just speculating here. It's a good question. I never really thought about it. The rest of the world leans towards low punishment to keep society going, but America seems to have a sacred mission to get people locked up and punished. Oh, well, the prison system is a later thing. The prison system is actually, I mean, there have been obviously prisons, but prisons are not really they're not really biblical, actually. I mean, if you look in scripture, there's like people get detained and stuff. And so the idea of vast prison systems is a very late, probably post Enlightenment development, and probably even post development of sociology and psychology as disciplines, right? Because the whole idea behind prison systems is that you can, again, a part of the Enlightenment tabula rasa idea that, oh, well, if you just put people in a different environment, right, you can correct them, you can heal them. But this is totally based on faulty anthropology. Well, what if man's problem isn't his environment, right? What if there's genetics, and what if there's a fallen spiritual side to man? So this is all Pelagianism. It's all based on the idea that kind of you just change men's environment and it will reprogram them to be whatever you want them to be. That's also kind of what Clockwork Orange is partly involved with. But Clockwork Orange even understood that it's not just man's environment. It's also, he's also drugged, right? So they see man as a purely material chemical being, right? So chemicals, and thus big pharma, becomes intertwined then with the prison industrial complex as ways to rehabilitate man. But these rehab programs don't work because they're based on a faulty anthropology and metaphysic, as if man is a blank slate that you can just simply reprogram. So what it actually ought to be is detainment would be temporary for the period of then the assigned punishment. And that would be a much better biblical system, so to speak, than forcing the taxpayers to pay countless amounts of money so that thugs and criminals can get college education. It's just retarded. The whole thing is nonsense. And then the prison system can have slave labor, right? That's the whole basis of the private prison system. So America's prison system complex arises out of corporatism and bad anthropology. Duncan, $20. I'm getting this party started. Do you have any thoughts on the state of the wedding of Taylor Swift with Travis Kelce at MSG? I don't even know what MSG is. Isn't that like a weird Chinese food additive? What is MSG? What advice would you give for a person who's agnostic? I mean, I would check out Orthodox Church and, check out the Icon documentary is a good place to start. You could watch some of my debates with Matt Dillahunty and the other atheists. I started reading the Orthodox Study Bible and I read Orthodoxy and Religion of the Future. What are some other books that are good for me? Read Mind of God by Paul Davies. That's a good book for an atheist. You could get the, what is the name of that book? I can't see it from here. I think it's on that shelf. I can't see it though. There's a good book that's overlooked that I think is really fascinating that kind of gives you a presentation of the structure of reality in a very interesting visual way. It's not Hotel Quadriga. This is it. The Quadrivium. This is a good book to get into. And it gets really deep. It starts very simple and then it gets really deep. The four classical arts: number, geometry, music, cosmology. And I know Masons like this kind of stuff, but it doesn't prove Masonry. I don't know. I was thinking of Quadriga, which is the hermeneutic of the Middle Ages. And I was thinking Quadrivium, but I meant Quadrivium. Blink says, no, we did that one. Adam says for $14, Jordan Peterson burned out, perhaps because he tried to defend Western ideals, namely classical liberalism. But this is a hopeless cause because, unfortunately, it's inherently regressive. Is this what you would say? Again, I think because America was half Christian, there was always this potentiality of it could go in the direction of being more Christian in a right way towards, obviously, Orthodox ideas, ultimately. Or it could go in the direction of more and more like satanic stuff. And unfortunately, America just progressively went more and more in the satanic direction and less Christian. So, and another element of this Enlightenment Protestant ethos of America is also the idea of cults. There's nothing more American than cults. And America has produced countless cults. I mean, all over the place. I don't just mean the splintered, thousands of Protestant evangelical denominations and sects, because a lot of that even preceded America. But I'm saying, like, America is this, there's nothing more American than starting your own religious cult. I mean, when Anne Lee left, England, where did she go? She went to the damn colonies, dude. She went to the damn colonies.
God is a woman.
And I was just in Maine a few days ago. Hint, hint. I was just in Maine a few days ago. And here we are driving, and lo and behold, what did I look over to my right and see? The last Quaker settlement. I'm like, what? The last Quaker? What? I didn't. So it turns out there's like 3 Quakers or Shakers, excuse me. The last Shaker settlement. There's only 3 Shakers left in the world. And here's a little news flash. If you make mandatory celibacy part of your cult's belief, you're probably going to die out. You're not going to have a lot of new converts to your crazy ass goddess cult. But to my point, when Anne Lee decided that she was crazy bitch, and that she was God, or no, she was the incarnation of the Holy Spirit, excuse me. Where did she go? America. Every cult can go crazy in America, and you can set up your own grift. There's nothing more American than creating your crazy bitch cult in America. So there go Anne Lee right there. I don't understand why this video didn't get more views and why y'all didn't go watch that movie. I try to tell y'all, if you want to convert your friends who are believing in crazy Pentecostal shit, make them watch this movie and then be like, you know, that's you, right? Like, you know that basically that's you. Because she's just a crazy Pentecostal woman. And she was part of the Anabaptist schisms that came out of the Quakers. So she started as a Quaker, but why stop there? Why stop with Quaker? By the way, this bitch crazy looking. This bitch diagonal, bro. She looked like a thumb. For real. She don't look like Amanda Seyfried. She does not look like that. I can tell you that. But there's nothing more American than that right there. By the way, that's where we get feminism, women preachers. It's all out of this chick and her crazy cult, dude. And she's just another version of Montanism. Just another flavor of it. So I would say, yeah, I think in regard to Peterson himself, and I want everybody should keep praying for Jordan Peterson, because I think, if he's in bad health, a lot of times God sends his chastisements to bring us closer to him. So we want to see, Jordan Peterson eventually come around to Orthodoxy. He was so close, has been so close for so long. And even Jonathan Pajot says he thinks that, this is chastisement, spiritual things that are intended ultimately to get Jordan Peterson to convert. You want the link? Yeah, here's the link right here. The movie's called Testament of Van Lee. Everybody should watch it, because you there's no way you can watch this movie as a sane person and come away being like, okay, Pentecostalism is crazy, dude. It's basically just this. And if this shit's insane and crazy, then all of Pentecostalism is because it's no different. Is it also perhaps a problem for Peterson because he aligned himself with Daily Wire and with Zionism? Yeah, I think that contributed to the problems big time. AC, what's up? Shout out to AC, $10. How dare you? The next thing you know, the Ortho Bratvas will criticize Saint Ronald Reagan. Reagan! That's boomer blasphemy, dude, if you speak against Reagan. Reagan is one of the founding fathers. The founding fathers are basically apostles to evangelicals. So you're basically attacking an apostle. Francois, America is built upon post-Enlightenment, post-Christian presuppositions that are hostile to orthodoxy. Well, many of them are. Not all of them, but I would say, again, being very charitable, about half, and then the other half are not so good. Until our so-called conservatives figure this out, we're going nowhere. That's exactly what I've been saying. Clown baby, Nicorette gum. Then you don't have to spit. I like Alps. I like them. I don't give a shit. I'm unapologetic. I like Alps. Now, I ran out of my good flavor. I like the one that tastes like juicy fruit, the fruit flavor. So, I got a bunch of free ones. So I ended up now having to do refreshing chill, which I'm not a fan of. It tastes like toothpaste to me. But I do like I do like the tropical fruit. Nobita, $5. Jay, in the book of the Rakovsky interrogation, he talks about Freemasons actually being sacrificed for the revolution. What does he mean by that? He means they're useful dupes. He's talking about like the average Masonic groups or normies that are used to push the ideas of Masonry. He's saying that when the revolutions happened, like in the French Revolution, when you had all those Freemasons that didn't just engage in chopping off heads, a lot of them get killed in the revolution. So he's saying like they're the dupes, the foot soldiers of the Rothschilds. Let's just be clear. Like the whole book, the Rakovsky interrogation is him saying, I work for the Rothschilds. Trotsky, Lenin, they're operatives of the Rothschilds, and we use Freemasons as our retarded dupes. That's what he's saying. Anonymous, $10. Jay, I appreciate your videos. Are the books on God and Christ and St. Cyril of Christological Controversy good for me as a convert? Yeah, I mean, if you're coming into it with a lot of Western presuppositions about Christology. right? For example, I saw a Calvinist dude made a video critiquing me the other day. I didn't watch the video, but I could see right away within a few minutes of the video what he was, and he was arguing that you can't do icons because the divine nature can't be imaged. And it's like, well, then do you understand that undercuts the incarnation? And so they don't understand the distinction between nature and person. So it's not the divine essence that became incarnate. It's the divine person with the divine essence that became incarnate. Not the divine nature, not the Father, not the Holy Spirit. The Son, who is the icon of the Father, his hypostasis is what we image in the icons. The hypostasis of the Son is what is circumscribed. And we can do that because he willed to become circumscribable in his kenosis. That's the teaching of St. Cyril of St. Theodore the Studite. That's the whole book, is to make that argument on the holy icons. And that's the teaching of the Seventh Council. So because Calvinists and many Western people don't make the distinction between nature and person in the Trinity, they just have this assumption that the incarnation, the hypostatic union, is a divine nature plus a human nature that equals Jesus. No, Jesus is the second person of the Godhead, the Son, and it's his hypostasis, his personal subjective trope. That person became incarnate. It's not the common divine essence that took on human nature. Obviously. Why do Orientals have 88 books? It just was their tradition to have a broader, looser canon. But it also shows that in those early centuries, the canon was loose, right? So the sense in which the Orientals are kind of a frozen, at that time period, structure, because they don't accept Trullo or the Seventh Ecumenical Council, which fixed the canon for us, they kind of represent this earlier period of a loose canon, right? And I don't mean loose canon in the sense of like a crazy person. Loose canon in the sense of a looser idea of what the canonical scriptures are. Do they have the Ark of the Covenant? No. What about Queen of Sheba? Well, my godfather wrote a whole book on Ethiopia. He is a student of it. He's Orthodox, but he finds Ethiopia fascinating. I think his parents or somebody were Protestant missionaries in Ethiopia for many, many, many years. So he's always had an affinity, a fascination with Ethiopia. He's visited it many times. And my godfather, Dean, who we just had dinner with the other day, he wrote a book on this, and it's called Unknown Empire. It's really fascinating. He even gets into stuff like Bill Gates' operations there, that kind of stuff. So if you are interested in Ethiopia and the Ark of the Covenant and all that, and my godfather went to the place where supposedly, they think they have it or whatever. He doesn't believe that they have it, but he does explore all of these ideas in his book, Unknown Empire, by Dean Arnold on Ethiopia. It's not mainly a theology book. It's more of a just history of Ethiopia and where they kind of situate themselves nowadays in the global sphere. So this is not primarily a theology book. And it is a fascinating history. So check out Dean Arnold's book, Unknown Empire. By the way, he came on, we did a podcast on this book when he wrote it. I want to say this came out maybe 2020, but you can go find the old podcast with me and Dean talking about Unknown Empire. I forget the title of it, but Kazarkwe. Hold on, I lost my. And if you touch this thing, it scrolls away and you lose all the questions. Kazarkwe, $5. Jay Dyer. That's that Ruslan pronunciation. Do you remember the connection between liminal space and wiping out in the past? Wiping out? You mean like surfing? What do you mean wiping out? I made a montage. It's a free and short form content if it helps. Can I hand it over? Master's degree in filmmaking, maxing. I don't want to start a channel. I mean, yeah, you can hand it over. I'd like to see anything like that. Sounds cool, but I don't know what you mean by wiping out the past. I mean, oh, I know what you mean. You mean from when I did my talk on the backrooms in liminal space, that they're kind of a perpetual immediacy, a perpetual now that doesn't have any history or future. I get what you mean. Yeah, I'd like to see that. Sounds cool. I'd like to say all the stuff that you're describing is just minority envy. It could be. What out flavor do you got? Well, I wish I had my juicy fruit, tropical fruit, but unfortunately, I'm only left with refreshing chill because that's all I have left, which is not very good. It tastes like toothpaste. Miraculous neck bone, $10. Happy born on the 4th of July. You talking about Tom Coombe in a wheelchair? Is that what you talking about? You talking about? Remember when they dumped Tom Coombe out of his wheelchair and he rolls down the hill?
I'll kill you.
Was Oliver Stone thinking he was going to make a comedy when they was dumping Tom Coombe? Then he goes to the Mexican hoe house, right? He's rolling around with the tortas. Hey, Tom Coombe, dude, what you doing with the tortas? We about to roll you out of that wheelchair, bro.
For that fucker.
Yeah, right here. Look, poor Tom Coombe got rolled out of that wheel. Then they roll him down a hill too, dude. Remember that? That's the only thing I remember from 4th of July. It's Tom Coombe doing like wheelchair racing out in the Mexican desert. Don't they roll him down a hill? He's like, and then he got a battle with another wheelchair. Dude, that's America right there. Tom Coombe in Mexico going to the whorehouse and then battling another wheelchair, bro. And then getting rolled off a hill. I was Willem Dafoe. I didn't remember this. I haven't seen this movie in forever, dude. Is this the part where he roll? Yeah, they get in a fight. He spits on him, and then they roll down a hill. There he goes. Watch this. Ah! I thought he goes off the hill, dude. Does he not? No, he does, doesn't he? I don't want to ding the copyright, so. Yeah, here he goes. I told you. How dare you be so mean to Tom Coombe? That man is a vet, dude. That's a soldier. And you just tossing him down the sand dunes out there in Juarez, dude. Poor Tom. And then you got Paco over here finding him. Hey, dude. Dude, is that like Tom? Dude, I found Tom Cruise, bro. Hey, dude, I found Tom Cruise at the bottom of a hill, bro. What the shit you doing down there, bro? Hey, fool. Hey, fool, is that Tom Coombe? Why you chilling over there, bro? Ain't you supposed to be like Minority Report or whatever? Speaking of Minority Report. Get it? Put some respect on that name. Anyway, that's all I remember from Born on 4th of July, dude. That's a movie I haven't seen in forever. That's an Oliver Stone movie, too. I can't believe I found the clip of him rolling down on a hill off that wheelchair. You know what that reminds me of? That classic clip of Mac and Me, dude. They should have made Tom Coombe rolling down the hill like that Mac and Me wheelchair clip that was so famous. If y'all are young, a lot of y'all is young and you don't know about the Mac and Me classic clip. And this was one of the first kind of viral meme type things because Conan O'Brien, he used to play this clip all the time. Didn't he do like a funny gag where he would like, this is actually pretty funny. There was quite a few funny Conan clips and ideas. He would have like an actor on that was there to promote their movie. Like, I don't know, Arnold Schwarzenegger's there to promote a movie, or I don't know, Sharon Stone's promoting a movie. And then he would be like, oh, here's this next scene, this great, Arnold Schwarzenegger movie coming up. Terminator 3 or whatever. And then they would go to the clip and he would just play the Mac and Me kid rolling in the wheelchair, that's pretty funny, honestly. So he would troll the guests, which we need more of that. This is the scene he would always play. Be like, what is this? That's not my movie. Why are you doing this? That's the wheelchair. I'm not in the wheelchair. That's not my film. What is that? What is that? Do you guys remember that? Let's see if we can find a clip of Conan trolling people. He used to do that all the time, which, again, that's actually pretty genius. No, not canon. Am I remembering that right? I mean, I'm thinking back to like the 90s, and it seems like that's what Conan used to do. Yeah, here it is. Here's him doing it with Paul Rudd one time. Let's see.
Them along, but this time I did. I brought a tape.
You brought a clip. This is a clip of the final episode.
And I thought maybe you could show it.
Well, I'm just going to show it.
Oh, was it? It's supposed to be Paul Rudd pranking Conan. I don't remember.
Why not? We might get in some trouble here, but as long as it doesn't give anything away,
I think there's a lot of interest.
Let's show this clip from the final episode of Friends.
Is there more than one wheelchair chase? Oh my gosh, dude. You know what? I really wish we could watch and riff Mac and me, but they will constantly copyright ding it, dude. It's so annoying. I don't know, like these people who own the rights to these things, which I guess this McDonald's owns the right to this, because basically the whole movie, if you don't know, is McDonald's made a movie ripping off E.T. It's literally a ripoff of E.T., except the kid is in a wheelchair. It's the dumbest movie you've ever seen. And the aliens, by the way, are black people. I'm not joking. I'm not kidding. It's not me. They're obviously portrayed like black people. McDonald's is like trolling black people in their face. So you could say McDonald's is racist. But they should make it to where you can watch these movies without the stupid copyright. Because you know how popular this would be? Like, people would be watching Mac and me, playing the clips, commenting on it all the time. I made a Mac and me video one time, like 7 years ago, and immediately the whole thing got immediately pulled down. I was like, did I put like 20 hours into making that stupid Mac and me video? And they freaking pulled the thing down right away because of stupid copyright. But shit, I didn't even remember that there's two wheelchair chase scenes. And what's more American than Mac and me, dude? What's more American than Mac and me? By the way, that's what's always in my pictures. What's that alien you got in your picture? It's Mac and me, dummy. You didn't know? So instead of Elliot on a bicycle with E.T., these geniuses came up with the idea of what if our version of Elliot was in a wheelchair? So these are the feds chasing the kid with just like E.T., except it's a wheelchair. It's even the same neighborhood, dude. That's the same neighborhood that Spielberg put E.T. in. It's that same damn California neighborhood. By the way, that's like every neighborhood in California in the 80s looked just like this. Looked just like where I grew up in California in the 80s, right here. Same neighborhood. Everybody who grew up in California in the 80s, it's the same. This is where you grew up. Same street as E.T., same street as freaking Mac and me. Look at that thing. What's he doing? Look how he's like, ah. Again, the whole movie is just E.T., but it's an advertisement for McDonald's. You can't make this up. Don't get me going on Mac and me, dude. There's nothing more American than Mac and me. I'll talk about Mac and me all day long. Allow me to prove my point, because there's a 2-minute dance sequence in the McDonald's that's an advertisement for McDonald's. The whole movie is an ad for McDonald's. But did you know that there was furries No, wait, it's Mac and Me. Just like, remember E.T. when he puts on a costume for Halloween? They did the same thing with Mac. They put him in a costume.
Okay.
And so this little dude wheels up in there, rolls up into McDonald's. He can't get no chicks, but if he got an alien dressed up as a furry, he could get some.
Hey, kid, let's get this dance contest going.
He's here.
What?
Mac, he's in the tennis suit.
He is? I don't believe this.
By the way, this is how they present McDonald's as if it's this place where it's just a perpetual 24/7 party. If you watch this movie, you would think, dude, McDonald's was lit. The whole place was a 24/7 party with freaking 500 people there at all times.
Daddy, what's
McDonald's is a rave in 1988. That's what this movie make you think.
going on?
It's okay, everybody thinks it's just a toy. Hi, Michael.
The thing I was telling you about, it's in the teddy suit.
Oh, no way, so cute.
Yeah, real cute. Listen, those guys were following us. They're here.
Well, what are we gonna do?
We got to figure out how to riff movies without dinging a copyright, because this could be our whole future, dude. We go full Mystery Science Theater, full riff tracks with this.
I don't know. Just keep him dancing. They'll just think he's a teddy.
There's what's that dude? The Asian dude, Cayman Lee. There's Cayman Lee right there dancing with young Beyonce. That's Candace, dude. That's young Candace dancing with Cayman Lee. I didn't know Candace and Cayman Lee were in this. Look at that.
Okay, pick up the pace. That's very
Maybe we should have been going to McDonald's this whole time. This looks like a damn party, dude.
good, Kathy.
You got Candace over there getting jiggy with it. Let's see who else we got. You got who's that black dude look like? You got Bryson Gray. You got who's that dude with the mustache look like? I don't know. Dude, even the feds had to freeze for a minute and be like, all right, look, I know I'm a fed and I'm supposed to be a sourpuss. I know I'm a Men in Black. I know the NSA has got me tracking down this Galian, but this does look hella fun. Woo! Cameo. Hello. Did you know that your boy Ronald made a cameo? Why is it all the black dancers? Where are the white dancers at? Where's Avery at? Where's God Logic at? God Logic be busting the moves right here.
Right from the start, you know you can't get hurt. Staying down to earth when the pressure feels like more
There we go. Get some white girls up there.
than you can take.
You got Kid and Play. Black dudes with flat tops. Kid and Play. You got Alyssa Milano in the front. By the way, isn't this kind of torturous for a kid in a wheelchair? You got a giant McDonald party and everybody's having fun dancing. The one thing a wheelchair boy can't do. Whoa, dude, he's flying through there. Look at that. Look at the flips. Even Ronald's tripping out. He's like, damn, dude, you see the moves on that? He said he got more moves than God Logic.
What's he doing?
Could you imagine what would be your reaction if you went into a McDonald's and this was what you saw? I would change my position on McDonald's and fast food. Because I was about to go off on fast food in my notes right here. I got fast food written right there in the notes. Go off on that shit. But now I've changed my mind. I've been converted. My paradigm got destroyed. My paradigm just melted. My worldview collapsed. And now I'm pro MacD. Look at that. Mario Lopez there. Who's that? Vanilla Ice out here dancing. You got Tiffany. You got
All right, come on, move it.
who's that black dude that's a streamer? Kai or whatever?
Let's go.
Dude, I'm convinced this is what God Logic was trying to do right here. This was God Logic's whole routine right here. Tell me it ain't. Tell me it's not. Look, let's compare this again. Y'all remember yesterday? We had fun with this yesterday. Look, here's God Logic doing his move. Yes, that's really him. No God Logic. Get on it. By the way, a lot of people were saying, dude, God Logic's got some moves. No, he doesn't. He's not even dancing good. He's just like gyrating and spurging, dude. He's not even dancing good. I can dance better than God Logic if this is his skill set, right? Dude's just spurging, just look like he's having a fit. God Logic's jumping up on the pews.
That is funny.
Dude going wild like he and Mac and me. Woo! Get on it now. Dude, even the feds are blown away. They're like, damn, dude. That alien got God Logic moves, baby. Anyway. What is this? Why would you not want to be charismatic, dude? Look, why would you not be charismatic? This is America. This is American right here. Woo! Get on it, son. Absolutely. David danced before the ark. That's exactly what's happening right here. No different than David danced before. That's exactly what it is. I can't tell you underneath the comment because the God Logic dancing video got like 100,000 views across the clips. And when you read all the comments, dude, most of them are laughing, saying it's retarded, but like there's like probably 30%, 40% defending it. Every one of these idiots, David danced before the ark. Yeah, David didn't spurg and have Tourette's before the ark, dude. And by the way, dancing before the ark after celebrating a battle victory is not the same thing as dancing in the temple at the sanctuary, goobers. As if, so everything that David did outside of the temple is also supposed to be part of temple worship. People are so stupid, dude. Okay, how do we get on Mac and Me? One super chat about something made me think of Mac and Me, and we spent 20 minutes on Mac and Me, dude. Google Plus, $20. I don't mean to derail you can't derail it, dude. There's literally no way to derail my live streams. You can never derail my live streams. I don't want to derail it, but what is the Orthodox view of the use of force? Again, I think the death penalty is legitimate. There is a form of defensive just war that I think is legitimate. There is a form of self-defense. I think all of these things are obviously part of the Christian tradition. It shouldn't even be up for debate. What about people like Jeff Stein McEffrey? They're above the law. Do believers have an obligation with regard to, well, we can't engage in personal vengeance or personal justice. So justice is the purview of the state. So no, you can't engage in personal, what's the word I'm looking for? Mercenary. You can't be a personal mercenary type of person. I don't think that'd be good. Blink $10. Jay, you're wrong. We're not gonna have wizard government. I'm advocating for straight up sorcery governance. See, I'm bypassing wizards. Y'all thought because I mentioned Wigzantium and the Wizard government, let's just go full sorcerer, dude. Because it's time to fight the dark arts with the dark art. We gotta go full sorcerer government. I want direct governance by damn Skeletor, dude. I want Evelyn, Skeletor. That's the only way we're gonna win, dude. We gotta go full direct sorcerer governance. And I'm gonna have to say, and this is a new political paradigm. I'm going to introduce a new form of political theory. We don't want Merlin. Merlin is too weak, dude. Merlin is all concerned with optics. Merlin is an optics cuck, dude. I'm done with optics cucking. I'm ready for full sorcerer-based governance, dude. It's time for full Skeletor. We don't want no man at arms. I want full. Look at the aura. Look at the motion, the riz when Skeletor shows up.
Villain!
Look at that. Tila. Tila ain't got nothing on Skeletor.
Take him.
Exactly. Just point a finger and dudes get whisked away. Skeletor just points away. How could you stand against that? That's some legit sorceress governance right there, dude.
Skeletor, I had a feeling you were behind this.
Not so fast, my royal enemy.
Look, basically, no shit-faced Skeletor, dude. That's what I'm saying. We need that level of power. Just appear out of nowhere. Just create a giant wall of rock out of nowhere. Just whisk dudes away with a point of a finger.
You just hypnotized yourself, Boreas.
MK Ultra mind control powers, hypnotizing kings. Dude, we got the victory is ours when we adopt governance by direct sorcery. That's what I'm saying.
What's the matter? Lost your king?
I like his laugh too. And by the way, I'm not against women being involved in this governance either. And I elect Evelyn to be immediately also a coadjutor of power in sorceress governance out of Wixantium. Y'all know Evelyn? I was trying to tell, by the way, when we were interviewing Kat Von D, and I was like, you should play Evelyn, dude. They got the chick from Community, Allison Brie. She's playing Evelyn. No, dude, it needs to be Kat Von D. Tell me Kat Von D wouldn't be perfect for Evelyn.
He and his cat are behind that wall. Even if I weren't here, you'd never be able to free him.
That's Kat Von D right there playing Evelyn. Perfect. Skeletor is above kings. That's what I was trying to say. Skeletor wants a direct sorcery-based Imperium. That's what I'm trying to argue for. I've been converted today. RL Burnside, $5. Can we talk about Jefferson? Jefferson Lies by Barton. You mean Thomas Jefferson Lies? Is this some like academic debate about Thomas Jefferson? I don't care about that, dude. But if that's what I don't even know what that is. Jefferson Lies by Barton. People want to pick, is this like the thing about him having slaves and that kind of stuff? I don't know anything about all that. I'm tired of this snot grandpa. Anonymous, $10. Jay, I like your videos. I want to ask you just about, you asked that question earlier. We did that one. Anonymous, $10. Did you send that 3 times? Tuxedo, $10. Statue of Liberty is a dude. Was it like a dude dressed up in a woman's outfit? I don't know the story of it. I wouldn't be surprised though. Chernox, $10. Stop mogging me. I can't help it, dude. I'm just myself. If myself in its natural state mogs you, I cannot be held liable for that in any court of Wixantium. We're going to let Evelyn inspire us today. That's what we need right there. Anti-retard, $5. Jay, try the Pablo 50 milligram pouches. 50 milligrams, dude? I can barely handle 3 to 6. Super Suit, $5. God bless you. Is there any intelligence tied to FIFA? You talking about the soccer stuff? I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, intelligence has its hands in everything, but I don't know of a specific book about espionage and soccer. I will be at the heart of hosting the World Cup in Kansas City. I cannot stop thinking about, are there spies here? Oh, yeah, of course there are. But, I mean, that's a genre that very few people would care about. You know what I mean? Like people into sports, they don't care about espionage, dude. Which makes sports a great vehicle for some of that type of stuff. There's a lot of mental priming and agendas everywhere. I think more so with soccer, as we said on that live stream, it's not like this or that athlete is a spy. I mean, that could exist, but more so international sports is more soft power and globalization. Big boy, can you give us predictions about the long-term elite agenda? Well, it's what Lord Voldemort said in today's clip. I mean, just because we haven't heard about Davos and WEF and all that, it's not as popular a topic as it was during COOF. Dude, that doesn't mean any of that's gone away. They just got quiet because it's not the topic and it's not popular, right? So here's what Lord Voldemort said.
Meritocracy is very popular, is very powerful, creates a giant middle class, but it creates a lot of competition for elites who want what they call an end of history, where there is no more competition. Then they bring in a kind of neo-feudalistic dark age and then depopulate at least 90% of the world population to a more manageable level. That's all their statements, hundreds of books, thousands of white papers. Jay Dyer, myself, Jerry Griffin, and many others chronicle this information from their own words of David Rockefeller in his autobiography, Reflections, in the official Rothschild authorized autobiography of the family that was published a few years ago. The Jay Dyer yesterday did a superlative job in the fourth hour going over. You don't have to listen to me, you can listen to them. Guilty as charged, a planetary dictatorial world government for your own good.
That is the plan. Elizabeth, St. Elizabeth, $10. Jay, thank you for your work. You got me at the door of orthodoxy. Here's a little something for all the World Cup calves. Oh, you're talking about my calves. These World Cup level calves right there. Woo, look at that. Look at that calf, that meat right there. Look at that white meat. Green, $3. In regards to the Milner-Fabian issue and the push for Islam in the West to squash Christianity, being socialist, these people are anti-religion. What is their plan to get the victorious Islam supremacy to then fold into commie atheism? I mean, look at England. I mean, look at Keir Starmer. Look at that whole governance structure. The question of the 100-year ago plan that we talk about, the Fabians having, that they wrote about, is literally in England now. It's working. So that's the plan. They don't really care about Islam like actually taking over. They just see it as a chess piece. So when you say what is the plan after the victory, they have been victorious. So what you see right now is that plan. And ultimately it's to bring all of these countries into, as Alex just said, a form of global governance under technocracy. Anonymous, $10. Cradled G.O. expressing Orthodox gratitude. Oh, Greek Orthodox. I have a newfound appreciation for our church and its history. Thank you, man. Do you see the Moscow-Constantinople schism ending? Not anytime soon, because it's really pushed by the State Department. So it's really an American deep state issue more so than it is like anything to do with the theology of the church. Scumbag, $20. Did you read Max Stirner? I have not read Max Stirner, no. He questions that if we own property that's not in the mind, and then he speaks of the ego, he has a form of pre-Nietzsche nihilism. Interesting, I didn't know that. The only picture of him is him smiling as Marx throws a chair in anger after a debate between them. Oh, I didn't know that. No, I've not read Max Stirner. Interesting. Six of Spades since $50. Wow, dude. That's a big fat super chat. Appreciate that. He says, happy 4th Wigxanthium. Exactly. Today is the Wigxanthium celebration of the National Imperial Day of Sorcery. That's what we're celebrating in Wigxanthium today, you guys. If you don't know. By the way, I forgot to update the description of today's show. It is not about the SSPX. We got a lot more super chats over here. Let me read these. Over here on the YouTube. Chetnik says, I ain't gay no more. I'm delivered. I like women's. Iron Giant says for $5, we on patented BIPOC time. That's why I arrive precisely on time. A sorcerer arrives precisely when he means to. Igor says for $5, a podcast that is worth standing in line for. I appreciate you guys' humility and devotion. AC, $10. I got held up in a breakdance fight with Avery, showing him how funky and strong it is in your fight. It doesn't matter who's wrong or who's right. Just beat it. Oh, he's quoting Jacko. Hee. Shamo. Nectarius, $10. No, we did that one. Chetnik says for $5, play the insane AP Ridbon clips. I don't know what those are. Is there a new one? What do you mean? Is it something new that he said? Let's see. Does Cleve have it up? Cleve's always on the point, dude. He's like immediately got this stuff up. What's the insane Ridbon clip? By the way, I try to tell y'all. No, why are you being so mean? You're so mean. Oh. A lot of y'all need to head on over to God Logic's church to get delivered. Right here. There's a deliverance service. Juneteenth, right here. Bishop Avery Austin got to get y'all delivered. So you will like men. You won't like men's no more. A lot of this audience needs to not like men's no more. Jay, what's your favorite cologne? They don't wear cologne anymore. When I did wear cologne in the 90s, I wore Cool Water, Ralph Lauren Polo Sport, and in 8th grade, I wore Drakkar. Clown Baby, $10. That's a good name. Clown Baby. What do you think about old calendar claims against world orthodoxy? Go watch David Erhan's videos critiquing the true Orthodox. Second question. Dr. John Coleman claims that the East India Trading Company is the British Empire and all that. Yeah, I think that's basically right. I don't necessarily think that he's right on every conspiracy theory, but we've done entire podcasts on John Coleman's Committee of 300. You can go watch those. I've got 2 or 3 on that book. But most of what he says, I think, is correct. Jay, can you post a debate with Robert Taylor on capitalism? One of the Clips channels just posted it. So, not that long ago. It should be up. Duncan, $20. Unless somebody copyright striked it or something. Duncan, $20. Let's get this party started. Oh, that was the question about Taylor Swift. Do you think I keep up with Taylor Swift? All right, let's see. I'm trying to find the super chats I didn't get to yet. Let's see. Panonsky, Jay, you're my best friend. That's a little too soon. A little too soon. I don't know you yet, so. Nobody says for $5. Jay, when you retire and you go to old folks' home, can I have all the books? Well, keep praying because maybe one day we have a baby and the baby gets all the books. And then you could, if I don't have a baby, you could be my adopted baby. Tuxedo, $10. Tuxedo, the Liberty, Statue of Liberty is a man. We did that one. Visible Chunk, $20. I'm sorry that I'm late to this, but when are you going to find out? When will we find out exactly what podcast you were on? You will find out Monday the 13th when it drops. So you got to wait. 9 more days. I started following Orthodoxy, and I went to a Russian Orthodox church. Cool. I also got the Orthodox Dogmatic Theology book. Good, man. I think you're going to like it. Jay, are you hopefully going to do a breakdown of the new Practical Magic movie? I saw that because Jamie and I did a funny We Did Witch movies not that long ago. Remember that? That was fun. And how witch movies obviously always push like feminism and all that. So stupid witch movies for Spooktober. Remember this? Remember those classic Amid the Ruins songs? Like this one. This one's really good. I like this. Let's just hear a little bit of this song. So, yeah, we did this 2 years ago, and it turns out I actually saw the trailer for this just because these kinds of ridiculous feminist movies are so funny to me. They have made a sequel to this piece of shit, stupid movie. It's so dumb. And believe it or not, the new trailer looks even insanely dumber. I know you think, well, how could you get dumber than what it was? It does. I'm not even going to play it, but if you really want to see something stupid, just, you go watch this trailer. It's like, oh my gosh, dude. Who watches this kind of stuff? So I don't know if I might force myself to watch this trash just to make fun of it. That sounds like it could be fun. Amid the Ruins took down the vocal tracks. Wonder why. I haven't heard from Amid the Ruins in a couple years. Hope he's doing good. I still have him linked in the show description, so hope I didn't make him mad or something. I don't know. You never know when. The thing with a lot of internet stuff is like, people do stuff and then suddenly, I'm not saying he is mad, I don't know, but then people get mad at you for some. Oh, 2 years ago on a podcast, you said you made a joke making fun of veterans. So, well, I've been mad at you ever since. Well, so what, dude? Be so touchy, dude. It's just a joke. How dare you? So you never know when somebody got mad at you or something that you have no idea about. Remember, guys, we have a show sponsor, which is chalk.com. Head on over to chalk.com, the best in supplementation on the internet. Use promo code J60Life. That's JY60LIFE. Get 60% off all those great chalk products right there at chalk.com. Hope you guys had a lot of fun. I don't think we need to keep going all day today. I'm sure people want to go hang out with their friends and do all that family type of stuff. You don't need to be hanging out with this dumb nerd over here. You need to go out with your friends. Have real life friends. Green says for $3. There's a push for Tiny Mustache Man. It's getting popular in Australia. It's on the internet. I think that's being pushed to create the dialectical opposition. There's no other reason why they would allow that stuff to be all over the internet. So they're looking for controlled opposition to bait people into stupid shit so that they can justify clampdowns. All right. Happy 4th of Wixanthium. Everybody have a